city administrator and our police department to remove any such symbols of terrorism and racial hatred and violence. These have no place in our city at any time, but especially in this time. These incidents will be investigated as a hate crime. These evidence has been turned over to the FBI, and I want to be clear that regardless of the intentions of whoever put those nooses in our public trees, in our sacred public space here in Oakland, intentions don't matter. It is incumbent on all of us to know the actual history of racial violence, of terrorism that a noose represents, and that we as a city must remove these terrorizing symbols from the public view and investigate these as hate crimes until proven otherwise. These are extremely serious acts. We have to take into account the impact that they will have when viewed by members of our community that have been subject to racist attacks, terrorism, and even violence. This is not just history, this is present times. With that, I want to introduce our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Youth Development, Nicholas Williams. And then Theo, you can come up and join us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicholas Williams, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Youth Development for the City of Oakland. We were very disappointed with the happenings of Lake Merritt on yesterday, finding these rope apparatuses in the trees. Initial information came in that this was exercise equipment. Some of it may have been, but some of it absolutely was not. And Oakland City Parks doesn't tolerate hate. We are an exclusive system, and we celebrate the fact that everybody can come to Oakland Parks and enjoy it. And we will continue to be like that. We don't want to scare off any of our citizens. We will be vigilant, very vigilant about the fact that Oakland Parks are open and exclusive for everyone. And so these are acts of hatred, and you know, our country is experiencing that right now. But Oakland is about diversity and equity, and that's what Oakland Parks, Recreation, and Youth Development stands for. Thank you.
Next, this is Theo Williams, member of our Cultural Arts Commission, a huge stakeholder in the Lake Merritt community. Theo.
Thank you for that introduction, Mayor. Hello, as stated, my name is Theo Williams, and yes, I am on the Arts Commission. However, today I stand as a Oakland native, as a artist that uses the public space, and an artist that is very inspired by Oakland standing up through the actions of our mayor and our director of Park and Recs to call this out directly and clearly and decisively for what it is. It is a hate crime, and we can't tolerate it. The lake area is intended for families, and it's an open public space, and a space that we need to have a safe space and feel safe. So it's devastating. Everyone throughout the community is hurt, and I think you all have a job as the media to let the world know where Oakland stands on this, that there is no wavering, that we are all in 100% support of what the mayor is saying and putting out, and Oakland will not tolerate it. Personally, I think that whoever did the act should be found and held responsible and prosecuted to the highest extent of the law that we can hold them to, and be made an example of, to let anyone know that they can't bring that here to Oakland, and if they do bring it to Oakland, they're going to be met with strong resistance, and they're going to have to pay the penalty for that. With that said, I just want to really just speak up for the folks that are not here, just people that are from Oakland that are really feeling the pain right now, and they would love to have their voices heard. So I want you all to know that Oakland is in support of what's happening today, and just really thank you. I just want to say thank you to the mayor for taking it seriously and not letting something like this just slip by and let this just be something else that nobody hears about. And I thank you all for your roles in helping to get the word out that Oakland as a city and Oaklanders as residents will not and do not stand for this type of actions in our city.
With that, if you have any questions.
Mayor? Gordon. Several of us I know have been out to the park and interviewed a gentleman, an African-American gentleman, who says this was, you said intentions don't matter, but he said the intentions were strictly to create this rope system. He showed us another one that's still in the tree. He showed us video of them using it in that manner. I mean, don't the intentions matter if it was just strictly meant to be he said they've been up there for months.
Listen, the intentions will matter with regard to whether or not this is prosecuted as a hate crime, but intentions don't matter when it comes to terrorizing the public. These symbols are symbols of racial violence, and it's incumbent on all of us to have that sensitivity, to have that knowledge. And that is why I've directed our staff to remove any such symbol of hatred, regardless of the intention of what put it there. What a privilege for those of us that don't feel complete fear and terror when we see a rope in the tree. That is a privilege that so many of our African American residents do not enjoy. And this is a moment that we must be cognizant of that reality. We have got to stop terrorizing our Black and brown citizens, and as white people, we have to become knowledgeable and educated about the impacts of our actions, whether they are well-intentioned or not. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that. Oh, can we also add, it is also against regulations to put anything in public trees, regardless of your intention or regardless of what it is.
Mayor, with the recent calls from the city council to defund the police, are you sticking by your pledge?
Rachel, I think we're going to talk about that separately, because right now we're just going to talk about nooses and trees in Lake Merritt. I know you have some different questions, which I can answer later.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I didn't catch your name. I think you mentioned that there were 5 trees, 5 nooses that were located, and some appeared to be equipment, but then others, you kind of said that they were for sure intentional, there was some malicious intent behind it.
I didn't say that there was malicious intent behind it. I said the symbolism of the rope hanging in the tree is malicious, regardless of the intent. Exactly what the mayor said. It's evil, and it symbolizes hatred, and that's not what Oakland is, and that's not what Oakland Parks is.
And so, Mayor, you said it's now the investigation from OPD. Will that evidence be turned over to the FBI? And what happens after that?
Yes, the Oakland Police Department has turned over the evidence to the FBI. We have to start with the assumption that these are hate crimes. We cannot take these actions lightly. We have to take them seriously. And again, if they are proven not to be, that will then exonerate that person. But that does not exonerate the fact that we cannot have symbols in our public spaces. Our public spaces where people are supposed to feel safe, where everyone is supposed to feel like they can access and enjoy these spaces with a sense of safety, with a sense of welcome. Anything that looks like a noose does not send that message, regardless of the intention of the person who put it there, period.
Even if that's a person of color?
Even if that is a person of color, yes.
And on that note, I think that that's one thing that we have to remember, that hate is hate. It's, as in my profession, we call it energy. So hate is an energy that can be held not only by white people, but by Black people as well. So for me, it really doesn't matter if it's a white person or a Black person. I'm assuming that it's a white person, but we don't know that for sure. But I feel that just our city and where we are now in our history, we have to make sure that we send definitive messages out to everybody, including our children, right? That this is not the type of future that we want to promote.
Madam Mayor, question for you. Just in the past 24 hours, we've had a person associated with the Boogaloo movement who was finally formally charged with the death of the federal protection officer here in the city of Oakland. Does that, this hearing about ropes and trees while we have white supremacist actions actually happening on the ground. Does it make the moment overwhelming? Is that part of the reason we're standing here today?
You see an overwhelming amount of anguish, of rage, of fatigue, of grief. And yes, the fact that we had an extremist charged with the murder of Patrick Underwood, an extremist group, the Boogaloos, that is trying to ferment a race war. We have to see this moment for what it is, a reckoning. And in Oakland, we cannot further terrorize or traumatize our Black residents. And yes, the incidents of the last few weeks, but frankly of the last few centuries, is the backdrop upon which we have to make these decisions today. Enough is enough. And again, the intentions do not matter because the harm is real. They will matter with regard to whether or not this is in fact charged as a hate crime, but they do not matter about whether or not we should tolerate symbols of hate and violence and torture in our public spaces. They do not have a place here in Oakland. I don't know if you want to add anything.
I think you said that very articulately. Thank you. I'm proud of that statement.
They do not have a place here in Oakland.
Is that good for this topic?
All right, thank you all. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Proud of that statement.
All right.
Hey, Nick.